ride up takes 5 minutes. To ski down takes 10. But those 15 minutes will be with you for the rest of your life. From now on, you'll only ride on chairlifts or in helicopters, in buses or rented cars. You'll ski in powder snow and packed snow, on corn snow, and yes, the sun will always shine. You'll live in a magic world above 6,000 feet. When one foot is higher than the other above 6,000 feet, you become a magician. You become a ski people. When it's finished in 30 years, Whistler Mountain, 70 miles north of Vancouver, British Columbia, together with the new Blackcomb Complex, will have 25 lifts and accommodations for at least half of the 20,000 people who will be trying to ski here. Whistler has a very good deal. They sell half-price lift tickets to ski people on sunny winter days. Last year, they had 2. Ski resort developers never have enough money to build their lifts to the top of the mountain, where we met Canadian Greg Athens, 4 times world freestyle champion. Jim McConkey. Jim's hair turned gray in a month when someone stole his bottle of dye. If you ski down the center of this run, your last turn will be your last turn. ski down the left side, make sure you complete all of your right turns. Oops! McConkey solid styles from another generation. His outside arm held very high, using lots of rotation to turn. This comes from years of skiing on 20-pound wooden skis that were almost 7.5 feet long. How many years? Well, Jim won't say, but the year he started skiing, Roosevelt defeated Hoover. Greg turns more aggressively, the same quick way he does when he's competing in a freestyle mogul contest. Let's take a closer look at Greg Athens. Greg belongs to the Bionic Athens family from Kelowna, British Columbia. Greg is 3 times Canadian water ski champ. He's already won the World's Freestyle Championship 4 times. His father was Canadian diving champion 4 times. His younger brother Gary, Canadian junior water ski champ, alpine ski champion, and he's a member of the Canadian ski team. His older brother George was 3 times world's water ski champion, 10 times Canadian champion. Greg has some advice on how to ski bumps.
Bump skiing, I think, is a technical event. And when I go down a mogul slope, I try to relate everything that I've already done, so it's more of a natural thing for me.
The natural thing for me on a hill like this is linked kick turns.
But I still have to concentrate on where you want your hand position. You want to be over your skis, you want to keep your hands forward, because as soon as your hands get back, your whole weight gets back, then you have to recover.
Last winter, while traveling, I met a lot of ski people, and I discovered little-known things about them, like never eat in a restaurant that has bowling trophies. Never ask directions from a man on a horse. It's easy to get lost in the haze of sweet reverie, back when living was tough. The West was young and restless then. It was full of open space and dreams of tough men. That'll teach you to sneak in the lift line. A long time ago, not a chance. It's winter carnival time in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. These guys have to clean up after their horses or they'll get arrested by the Environmental Protection Agency. We're here for the 79th annual Super Duper Pooper Scooper half-mile slide. There are all kinds of techniques. Some prefer to look disaster in the eye. The winner was Grace. When she entered, her name was Steve. Steamboat has a very unique program. Gets the kids off the streets and into the hospital beds. Watch the kid on the right in the blue boots. The guy in the red hat's his uncle. His uncle cheats. Kid's got a blue-eyed dog named Blackie. Steamboat is ranch country with a lot of ski lifts and a lot of mineshaft modern condominium units. They're inhabited by cloned Ken and Barbie dolls. At 10 in the morning when the lift starts, they won't let you ride up without a cowboy hat or a birth certificate that says, "Born in Colorado." We had neither, but we soon found that a paid-for in cash lift ticket works exactly the same. Let's go with 2 of Steamboat's 85 instructors. Instructor ski people Mark Shea and David Camp. David owns the razor blade. Watch closely and you'll see that a lot of their turning is done while their skis aren't even in contact with the snow. The best way to master edge control is to watch skiers that were filmed at 500 pictures a second. When you do, you can analyze the relationship between ankle, knee, and hip. It's easy to figure out which moves first. But notice how quiet the upper body is. It's not moving at all. Again, notice that the turning is done when most of the ski is off the snow. Ski techniques change every year, and some of the reasons why are the many new types of ski equipment that come on the market. Here's some equipment that makes the 21st century look like it's already here. The winter stick looks like a tongue depressor for the Jolly Green Giant. The winter stick is ridden just like a surfboard, if you had to ride one at high tide in a pine forest. Some of this was filmed last winter during Hawaii's big freeze. They're made by a Utah company owned by Dmitry Milovich and Renee Sessions. Milovich and Winter Stick Sessions sounds like the main course in a Bulgarian restaurant. Winter Stick is part mammoth and part Malibu, Makaha, and the Matterhorn, and they're made out of rejected helicopter blades. You ski people who are looking for new experiences on different equipment, the Winter Stick can supply it. If you're just looking for new places to ski, you can find them in Nevada's Ruby Mountains. The only town near the Rubies is Elko. It's not much of a ski town yet. Why, out here everyone still wears pointed-toe cowboy boots. I found out that those pointed-toed boots are to kill cockroaches in the corner of the hotel rooms. If you don't have cowboy boots, stay in the Stockmans. The rooms are nice, the food is fine, and the floor show will keep you up all night anyway. Today, this part of the world's just about as exciting as watching the Waltons sort cranberries. Elko has always been overlooked by ski resort developers, even though the nearby Ruby Mountains have an average snowfall of over 400 inches. Located in the Humboldt National Forest, the Rubies are a family-run operation. It's run by Carl Fisher, who used to own a gas station in New Jersey. His wife Lil keeps the books. Son Eric drives the bus back and forth to town. His daughter Chris cooks and makes the lunches. They fly a French helicopter called a Llama. Has a good warranty. 12,000 hours or Thursday, whichever comes first. When you're helicopter skiing, take your time, look around and enjoy. Try to forget how much vertical skiing per week you're going to get. The technique of turning a pair of skis in powder snow is different than on packed snow. A shorter, wider ski with a soft tip and tail makes powder skiing lots easier. You sit much farther back, and as the turn is initiated, the body rises to unweight your skis. Your heels are thrust to the side and you turn easily. The easiest thing to compare powder snow skiing to is water skiing, if you had to buy a new ski boat every time you went. Lil went skiing for the first time on her honeymoon with Carl almost 30 years ago. Even today, Carl still calls Lil his first wife. Says it keeps her on her toes. Not many ski people will ever go helicopter skiing for a lot of reasons. One reason is the lack of lift capacity. One helicopter can haul less than 50 people per hour. But most ski resort lifts haul at least 1,000 people an hour, like this one at Snowbird, Utah. It goes back and forth every 10 minutes all winter long on a 3-inch cable, often blown around by high winds. Other times it's ice-laden. The cables must have a safety factor of at least 10 times the gondola load. But how safe is 10 times safe? Checking those cables every day is Bob Ficker's job. Bob wears special clothes designed by the Lost and Found. He always rides up at least 35 feet above the gondola. Part of his job, though, is inspecting the cables at his own rate of speed. Yep, there's nothing like sitting up here 1,000 feet in the air breathing that clean, pure mountain air. Bob's advice for anyone interested in this type of job is get into the business when you're young, when you don't know what you're doing. There's all kinds of different things to learn in skiing, and this is a good place to learn some of them. Your first ride on the lift is like a ride on the Titanic. You know exactly how it's going to end, you just don't know when. These unloaders have the fastest feet in the West. The guy in the blue shirt's the world champion body handler. Safe. And this is a step-over ski removal trick. Trip her with your poles. Here's the step-over fall under. Shall we dance? Usually the projector breaks right here. This kid gave his gloves a 2-day cool-off at home in the deep freeze. Look out. Allow me to introduce myself. Watch the guy on the lift in the t-shirt. Here's the old yank on the head trick. And a backhand reverse. Down below, there was a group practicing to see who could kick their skis off first. George won. Bonk. All day long, it's rolling around with girls, girls, girls. And one klutz. This kid is obeying the law of the child. My parents shall never enjoy a single moment as long as I live. With a few years' experience, these people will be at Waterville Valley in New Hampshire for a World Cup race, along with all the gold medal winners from the Olympics recently held at Lake Placid. Medal winners like Regina Sokol from Austria, Ingemar Stenmark, Claudia Giordani, the Moore brothers, Steve and Phil. That's Steve on the right, or is it the left? Phil borrowed Eric Hayden's speed skating outfit. Annemarie Moser, she won a gold medal in the Olympic downhill. Abby Fisher, skiing for the U.S. Cullen. She raced in warm-ups made by a company called Colorblind Designs. Honey Wenzel won a silver Olympic medal in the downhill and was half of the first sister-brother combination to ever win the World Cup, much less win it in the same year. Connie and Andreas are from Liechtenstein, a country so small they don't even have a single ski resort. The World Cup is a season-long series of races where each racer gets points for winning any of the alpine disciplines: slalom, giant slalom, or downhill. Honey Wenzel. Here's the men's World Cup winner, Andreas Wenzel, the other half of the brother-sister World Cup combo winner. In 1978, Ingemar Stenmark had the World Cup won by January. In 1979, he early and easily won 14 straight race victories. For 1980, the World Cup Committee changed the rules. This way, the races would last all season and draw more advertising money. Even though Stenmark won 11 World Cup races in 1980, including 2 Olympic gold medals, he didn't win the World Cup because he doesn't race downhill. Phil Marr, Olympic silver medal winner for the U.S. Ingemar Stenmark, millionaire winner at Waterville Valley. He's now known as a $6 million Swede from Tarnaby. He's already moved to tax-free Monaco. It was said after the Waterville Valley races that if Stenmark wins the World Cup in 1981, the committee will again change the rules. This time they'll include cross-country and jumping. Above 6,000 feet, ski people collect things besides trophies, like things to spend evenings by the fire with. As you know, dogs come in assorted sizes. When they get older, they just kind of lay around. A friend of mine owns the biggest dog I've ever seen. His name is Moose. Weighs 1,400 pounds. Raised right, a dog can earn its own keep, like this patrolman. Professionalism is going to the dogs. For example, Ralston Purina has their own hot dog team, which works out of Keystone and Arapahoe Basin, Colorado. Last year, there were only 28 days in this part of Colorado when the thermometer didn't go below freezing. That makes for a long, long ski season. And it takes good ski people to run a basin. The manager is John Reveal, who has 30 years of skiing experience.
So I've seen skiing start from when I was 3 years old, when we had a rope tow that my father and about 5 of his other friends would go out and put the poles up on the old Model A wheels, and started the ski area right there with no safety gates and no regulatory commissions, to a corporation like Ralston Purina that has a ski area as the side. The one thing that I do is when I work and ski is that I work on the way up and I ski on the way down. I will look at things as I go up the lift, I will note them, get a hold of the people responsible for them, and take care of them. Then when I can get back onto the snow, when I've got my feet on the snow again, I'm back to just John Reveal skier.
John has what a lot of us would consider the perfect job.
I'm sure if you could take a real close-up of my facial expressions when I ski, I don't smile, I don't glitter, I don't do anything. I'm probably as close to the Bjorn Borg attitude of skiing as you have. The only thing you can do on skis is 3 things: left, right, and straight. And if you can go left, right, and straight on skis, you pretty well got the fundamentals down. The idea is to link them all together and do those particular things with whatever you got left. Whether you're skiing on the absolute steep, whether you're skiing on the flats, whether you're skiing along and one ski comes off and you just keep going and you just keep making turns with whatever you got. If I had to fantasize about a job that I could do, I couldn't be happy. I live at the ski area. I have about a 45-second commute down from my office to the ski slopes. I have total freedom to run the ski area within my areas of responsibility. It couldn't be a better situation.
Except for that long 45-second commute twice a day. At Kirkwood, California, a batch of ski people were gathered to watch the first annual, never-to-be-repeated hill-standing Get-It-On Championship, together with the first intergalactic group grope.
Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, we're on top of the world. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, we're on top of the world.
The racing rules require crash helmets or brain buckets. No brains, no buckets.
We have made the grade. Read about us in the papers. We have got it made. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, we're on top of the world.
You could walk through the waters of their minds without getting your feet wet.
We're on top of the world. Our success is quite a story. Nothing left for us to do. We belong here in the big time. We're the chosen few. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, we're on top of the world.
This group grope race is an idea whose time has come. So I decided to pack up the whole race idea and take it to Europe with me. My first stop was the Arlberg area of Austria, where alpine skiing was invented about 80 years ago. The Austrian Arlberg is one large ski area made up of half a dozen towns: St. Anton, St. Christoph, St. Jakob, Steuben, Zurs, and Lech. You can ski 12 miles from St. Jakob to Lech using their 57 different ski lifts. It was here in the Arlberg we met 4 members of the Volvo ski team who had just finished 3 months on the European freestyle circuit. It was a team made up of Phil Sifferman, Walt Hiltner, Mike McIntyre, and Kirsten Eklund. The main streets of these villages have changed very little in 100 years. Sure, there's a lot more ski people now, but in the old days, St. Anton was a very remote alpine village. And it was here that Hannes Schneider created a ski teaching technique that's become the foundation for the entire skiing world. Today, the Arlberg Ski School has grown into 300 instructors teaching on 57 different lifts. Somewhere in the Arlberg, there's a Volkswagen without seat covers. And a herd of naked lynx. And a couple of very happy kids. The Veluga Bahn is one of the half-dozen different aerial trams you can ride between the 6 villages. During the 10-minute ride, I'd like to tell you about these 4 ski people. The girl on the right's Kirsten Eklund, Swedish national freestyle champion. With the beard, Phil Sifferman, director of the ski team. On the left in the back is Walt Hiltner, author of several freestyle books. Mike McIntyre, the one in the black parka, is the winner of the Swedish Aerial Championships. 25 years ago, you could find a room with a bath and breakfast anywhere in the Arlberg for only $6 a day. Last winter, that same room with a bath and breakfast was still only $6 a day. But last winter, I shared it with 27 guys from the Munich Marching Band. Remember, there's almost 60 lifts in the Arlberg, including half a dozen gondolas like this one. Some of the runs are as long as 6 miles from top to bottom. Under the guidance of Phil Sifferman, the Volvo ski team's become a great ski show with real ski people. All winter, they travel all over Europe, getting paid for doing this. Gork. We followed their ski show for 12 airline miles, riding 8 different lifts from Lech to Zurich to St. Christoph to St. Anton, where we stopped at the ski school headquarters to meet Carly Schranz. Carly was a world ski champion during the 1960s. He now heads the Arlberg Ski School with its over 300 instructors. That's Carly without the hat. As you watch Carly ski, it's easy to see the difference in his 25-year-old ski technique. In the old days, his hard power turning was the only technique that could work. Skis were long, very stiff and made of heavy hickory, and you had to develop a lot of rotational energy just to make them turn. While the ski team skis differently, quietly, loose, quick, and very casual. You used to be able to ski in the Arlberg all winter long and never make a turn except in deep powder snow. Then, when ski people from Colorado, Utah, and California began to ski here in the early 1950s, one powder skier taught another, until today there are 40 million ski people tracking up powder snow all over the world. As a result, today helicopters are the only way you can ski powder snow after 10 o'clock in the morning. This one is a French llama owned by the Austrian firm of Innsbruck Aircraft. We had an Italian pilot and a Spanish guide. Our skiers were from Sweden, Washington, California, and Canada. Our photographers from Scotland using a French camera taking pictures on film made in New York by a little old German named Kodak. 1952, it took me 10 hours to climb up here to photograph one of my first movies. Now, 300 movies later, it's a 5-minute flight. Now that's a lot of change, and I won't guess what the change will be like in the future. But just in case, all of those 300 movies are preserved in a vault for a film festival on the 50th anniversary of my first snowplow turn. A very important ingredient to ski people is the white stuff that covers the ground from fall till spring. It changes the harsh mountain landscape to one gentle playground for all of us. Conversely, though, as the snow piles higher, our bank balances get lower. Unfortunately, for most of us, skiing is a weekend experience. For others who live and work at Mammoth, it's different. They're ski people who only work weekends and ski midweek. For them, skiing is another kind of an experience. That's John Armstrong. They call him John only because his parents didn't like the name Ronald. Gordon Magic Johnson. They call him Magic because he never buys a lift ticket. Mammoth is now one of America's largest resorts. More lift tickets sold here last winter than at Vail, Colorado. And that's a lot. John and Gordon only work on weekends and get to ski Monday through Friday. Just think about them and all the other Mammoth employees cutting up that snow all week while you're down in the city working. It takes a lot of employees to handle the 15,000 weekend ski people. It takes employees to drive buses, to pack the snow, to run the many lifts, to cook, and to teach skiing. Why, it takes 3 executives just to drive back and forth to the bank. This is employee midweek skiing at Mammoth. Their skiing is interrupted every 5 days because weekend skiers get locked in a Greyhound bus for 8 hours with 38 other poor souls. A 500-watt amplifier will be pumping 12 speakers full of disco music into your brain. Your wife is being hustled by the tour conductor. He's kind of a Nordic blonde mafia type. He wears a Hawaiian shirt. Don't worry about him, though. His Arid deodorant and hairspray got mixed up, so he'll spend the day with his elbows at his sides. There are a lot of things to do before you can ski. There's lift tickets to buy, kids to get rid of, car keys to lose. Then you're in line for that first run, and you begin to wonder if you can still do it. Last week, that cornice wasn't too steep, so you might as well go for it. After all, you're no flatland ski people, so you go for the high country. You go for greatness. Soon you'll be a victim of Dave McCoy's law of the cornice. Get them at least 10,000 feet above their level of competence. Your nearly new ski swap boots don't work like they should. You can't bend over and adjust them because you put on 15 pounds since last time. This is the place where the Equal Rights Amendment was written. This is called the cornice by some, insanity by others, and no way not me by most. Here, skiers gather together in silent groups to pray. Ronald's tape deck was playing the rosary. There goes an atheist. He was followed by his girlfriend. Show off. Take specially designed clothes to handle a cornice. This guy didn't have them. Here's the 720 Revolvo. Look out. This is America's foremost equal opportunity ski slope. Here we have the nonchalant recovery. George, help! Martha! Martha, you klutz. Hail Mary, full of grace, I'm about to launch into space. Those earphones actually are worn to keep the sun from shining through his head. Most important, be casual. We saw you. Attention to details is very important. Get them lined up right and you can hit them in the head. Zonk. While she climbs back up to retrieve her equipment and her ego, let's have an intermission. At Winter Park, Colorado, there's a special group of ski people headed by Hal O'Leary, who says, and I quote, "As all of us ski people know, learning to ski is essentially mastering the use of some special equipment and a few highly developed skills to overcome various natural difficulties. We use attachments called skis to compensate for the inadequate length of our feet. We use special boots to support the inadequate rigidity of our ankles. To ski, we must develop special skills to always remain upright against the pull of gravity. When you consider all the problems we have to overcome, aren't we all handicapped skiers?" This is the Handicap National Championships at Winter Park, Colorado. the first time, these championships included a freestyle event. And cross country too. This was the 10-kilometer. According to Webster, handicap means something that hampers a person. There's nothing hampering these ski people. I think they're truly gifted. All of us are handicapped when it comes to driving in Southern California. It's about an hour's drive to get to Snow Valley in the San Bernardino Mountains. Since 1939, when it was sold for only $850, Snow Valley's expanded into 10 double chairlifts and 2 triple chairlifts. They've recently developed a whole new ski area at Snow Valley called Slide Peak. Scott Willingham, the new director of skiing, is a former world's freestyle ballet champion. One good reason for skiing at Snow Valley is that it's above the smog. Here's a turn that'll guarantee you'll be in a ski movie every time. One that you'll never live to see. Freestyle skiing at Snow Valley is freeway close to anywhere in Southern California. Very close to the paramedics. But a place that's not close to anywhere is the Wood River Valley in south central Idaho. Every year since 1945, my love affair with Sun Valley has drawn me back. It was here years ago for the first time I found total freedom. I was free to leave my tracks on the best developed ski mountain in the world. Free to ski with movie stars and politicians, industrial tycoons and students. Free to join the then emerging race of ski people. At that time, Sun Valley was owned by the Union Pacific Railroad, and they had a very laissez-faire attitude. In 1965, it was sold to Bill Jans, who built a chairlift every year for the next 10 years on the sides of Baldy and Dollar. Then, he sold Sun Valley to Earl Holding from Salt Lake City. No stock, no partnership, no nothing. Bill sold the lifts, the swimming pools, the ice skating rinks, the golf course, the buses, and the snow compaction machinery. And even though the owners seem to change every decade or so, the utopian atmosphere of this fantastic place will always remain. Tired of the big city hassles, a lot of ski people retire here to Sun Valley. Some of them, though, still have to work. And one of those is Mike Brunetto. Mike left a big city job making a couple of 100,000 pairs of skis a year to build a ski factory here that takes up almost all of a two-car garage. Let's go inside Research Dynamics and let Mike tell you about it.
I started with Head Durafiber Corporation, and I worked with Michel Arpen, and then all we did was build racing skis for Keeley. I've skied a lot on racing skis. They're absolutely the best machine to have on your feet in a race course. However, you get out of the race course and you want to go just have some fun on the mountain. Lately, I found myself more and more off in the trees, and I like to ski in the powder snow, and so I set out to build a ski that would do those things. Why being here in Sun Valley is an advantage, my tooling is very flexible and I can change design quickly. I would formulate some theory as to why I felt the ski wasn't acting correctly, and I would change the mold, make another pair of skis, go ski on them. And if you look at this machinery here, it's not terribly complex. I've worked with companies that have a total, complete machine shop, and that can be very challenging, and you can make some super machinery that way. But on the other end of the scale, the challenge here has been to design the machines so that they are simple enough that we are able to build them with no more than a hacksaw and a drill press.
This is the largest ski factory in Idaho. It employs 2 people.
Basically, what we're producing here is an aerospace product. Only instead of using it as an airplane wing, we're using it to ski on. And part of our success right now is the fact that the ski is handmade by 2 very good craftsmen. So then the problem becomes, well, how many can you make? If I have a really good week, I can make 4 pair. I hope that I can make a living doing this.
Mike makes a pair of skis every day he works. That way, he can ski 3 days a week.
I can get a certain feel in the shop that this is getting close to what I thought this would feel like. But I like to put it on and go up on the mountain. The true way to make good skis is by magic.
And these 4 magicians are Tony Jefferson, Tom Ritchie, Scott Sproul, Lane Parrish. Between them, they ski 600 days a year. Back when Sun Valley only slept 850 people, Tony Jefferson was born in the lodge, and that was when the hospital was on the 3rd floor. Scott Sproul was also born in the same hospital. You might recognize these 4 skiers. They were in my movie last year. They made so much money on that movie, they pooled it and bought 1 new parka that they take turns wearing. For them, the magic in skis is in the turn. For ski people like Tony, Scott, Lane, and Tom, skiing on Baldy 600 days a year is a magic way of life. But magic tricks don't always work. For ski people still looking for something different, a pair of skinny skis is just that, different and difficult. They're about the same length, about half as wide, and exactly twice as hard to turn. they're much harder to turn than alpine skis, they're a big challenge to any skier, no matter how good you are. Their outstanding feature is that you can purchase a complete skinny ski outfit for less than $100. Boots, bindings, skis, and poles. But the lessons cost $1,000. These skinny skiers are Tim Eaton, Ken Emmerich, Paul Parker. There's another group of ski people who will only use skinny skis. They are the occasional person who can't run the risk of getting hurt. People in high-paying jobs like doctors, movie actors, television stars, gas station owners. Skinny skis are safer because the bindings hinge in a lot more places than alpine skis. If and when you do fall, you go down easy because you're skiing a lot slower on hills with very few bumps. At least one skinny skier in the group always carries a rucksack. They usually have a six-pack of something in it. A jar of peanut butter, some cheese, mustard, a few spare parts, first aid kit, a bottle of wine, some tools to adjust things, and something to pull ski tips out of their teeth. Grunch. In Wisconsin, there aren't any hills, but there's a lot of these ice boats. They're made of steel and fiberglass by Olaf and Peter Harkins. The Millennium Factor is 18 feet wide, 31 feet long, with 75 square feet of sail. The 75 square foot sail builds up main sheet loads that require a 12-part mechanical advantage so you can pull them in. A lot of hot sailors sail on hard water in the winter. Sailors like Bud Melgus, several times world star champion and Olympic gold medal winner. Bud is also an ice boat champion sailing out of Zenda, Wisconsin. About 100 years ago, all ice boats carried two people and they had steering in the back, just like a regular sailboat. Today, however, they all have front steering and only carry one person. Cornelius Vanderbilt had an old stern steering ice boat that measured over 60 feet long, even had a bar. In 1883, it set a world's record on a measured mile of 137 miles an hour. They were trying for 140 miles an hour when the Perrier froze. The record today, though, is 143 miles an hour. But the competitive speed in racing today is in the 70-mile-an-hour range, where the wind chill factor can drop to over 100 below zero. Running cameras while chasing ice boats across lakes or skiers down steep hills has occupied the last 30 years of my life. And I know you can do more than turn right, left, or go straight. Airtime, Nordic Valley, Utah. The ancient Greeks believed in godlike figures like Icarus, who escaped from the island of Crete by flying with wings made by his father Daedalus. The feathers were glued to his body with wax, and when Icarus flew too close to the sun, it melted the wax, and he crashed to earth. 10,000 spectators gathered at the base of this mountain to watch a special group of people who had worked all year to get in shape for this next event, put on by the Kansas City Ski Club. The rules are very simple. You can't compete if you live in a state that has any mountain over 100 feet high. The judges were ready. The spectators were ready to watch the flatland ski people who got all stacked up during a garbage strike. The racers are separated by their waist measurements, their age, and IQ. This is a once-in-a-lifetime view of a 217-pound baggie. This is not mountain trash. This is flatland trash. Back in 1949, Squaw Valley, California opened with only one chairlift and 2 rope tows. Then when they had the Winter Olympics here a decade later in 1960, the Americans defeated the Russians for the first time in ice hockey, right here in Blythe Arena. When Alex Cushing hosted the Olympics that year, Squaw Valley was still a very small place where everyone knew everyone else. Now, with 27 chairlifts and 2 gondolas, Squaw Valley has even more great skiing than then. And with 15,000 people a day on the hill, you can look up and easily say, I made those tracks. We wanted to include some other shots of hang gliders, but the riders kept dying. Many of the runs at Squaw Valley are famous all over the skiing world. Runs like KT22. This weekend, special ski people are here for the National Alpine Championships. Ski people like Tamara McKinney, the youngest member to ever be on a U.S. Olympic ski team. Tammy learned her skiing right here at Squaw Valley. Also there were Phil and Steve Marr, Pete Patterson, Cindy Nelson, Christine Cooper, and Andy Mill, to mention just a few. These ski people are looking for freedom that can only be found in the 75 to 80 mile an hour range. It takes courage to reach for this upper limit of freedom on skis, that fine line between control and disaster, while you're wearing only skis, boots, crash helmet, and shoulder-length pantyhose. There's only about 100 people in the world that can ski this fast, about 20 that want to. Oops. It's your turn to enter this very private world where you have to deal with your own fears one-on-one. The countdown's begun. You climb into the gate. The referee reminds you one last time that at 78 miles an hour, pine trees are very solid. Over the years, Squaw Valley's produced a lot of good ski racers. One of them is Jimmy Huga. At the 1964 Olympics in Innsbruck, Austria, Jimmy Huga on the right raced out of the second or slower group of racers, and he won a bronze medal. No American man had ever done that before, and no man has ever done it since. But then Jimmy is a special kind of person. I ran into Jimmy the other day, and he's got some new interests.
I started sailing a laser in the Long Island Sound. And when I came back to California, I bought one for myself and started sailing up at Lake Tahoe. And that's really been an exciting experience for me. I sort of started from scratch.
Chances are Jimmy will never be on an Olympic sailing team because Jimmy has multiple sclerosis.
I guess I really don't think of myself as having MS. I mean, I think of myself as having some problems that I have to contend with. And in that sense, it's a challenge for me.
I first filmed Jimmy when he was only 10 years old at Squaw Valley. Even then, at 4 foot 5 inches tall on skis almost 7 feet long, he was a hot skier. Then in 1970, as a ski school director at Bear Valley, Jimmy was still a standout skier.
I was having vision problems about 3 years prior to that, in 1967. I noticed when I was competing that my left eye was blurry and things like that. I also started having trouble, numbness in my limbs, and started tripping and stuff like that. So I initially went to see an ophthalmologist, and then he recommended I see a neurologist. I went through this very simple test, and he said that I had multiple sclerosis, and I had no idea what it even meant. No idea. It just sounded like some ominous term. You know, the whole idea of this MS thing was sort of inconceivable because I was in very good shape. I was skiing well, and I was running, and you know, playing tennis and stuff like that. So it really took a long time for me to accept it. I started getting depressed because I couldn't jog anymore. And I started saying, what can I do? And so somehow I found a bicycle and started riding. And through that, I regained a lot of my strength. And it took time because initially I had trouble getting onto the bicycle, and I really had trouble stopping, getting off the bike. But as I became more adept, you might say, at this, and I gained my strength and regained some of my coordination, then I started going back and trying to ski, and I retaught myself. I think when it comes to MS or any type of physical problem that someone has, that the first thing a person has to do is face up to the problem and realize that they really have to solve those problems by themselves, that they can't really depend on other people or lean on other people and look for sympathy from other people. And in other words, you have to develop a certain mental toughness and be realistic about your problems. And with that in mind, I think there's a lot that you can do. You can jump back and into society and become an integral part of it. You don't have to phase out of it and look at yourself as someone with a handicap. And I would say that someone that has MS sort of has to get off their duff and develop a program for themselves, because we know that there's a lot of anxiety and depression involved. We know that there's certain problems, physical problems and neurological problems, and there are things that you can do for it. I think, if you develop a program, then when you get into states of depression or anxiety, then you jump into your physical program and become involved and try to rather than looking in terms of what you can't do, look in terms of what you can do.
Something ski people can all do is slow down just a little bit. Go ski touring and look around. Perhaps West Yellowstone, where you can tour on skis back into geological time, where water bubbles from the ground at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Did you know you can tell how old a person is if he still thinks in Fahrenheit? As you tour through this part of the world, you can stay overnight in cabins along the way. It's an easy 10-mile-a-day, 3- or 4-day journey. Skiing has changed a lot in recent years. A decade ago, a skier needed a ski at least 7 foot 3 inches long. Today, you can ski on that same 7 foot 3 inch ski and bring along a couple of friends.
Setting the trends, making friends.
From front to back, Kim Grundelen, Karen Christensen, and Valerie Daggett.
The bright lights getting faster. Playing for kicks, got a mix with the chicks. It's a ball, head in the air. We don't care what they call us. Why should we worry before we get old?
In this movie, I'll give these girls a 30. And wherever the girls go, the boys are soon to follow, if they can keep up. And the boys really go for the bumps in the snow. Born during the freestyle movement of the early 1970s, bump skiing today looks like either a country western disco contest or a Watusi fertility rite with lyrics. The object of bump skiing is to make 10 million turns every run. Today it makes no difference. Boy or girl, tall or short, thin or fat, they ski with a style and a smile that says, hey, I'm a ski people. All of us have excuses. When I was learning, they didn't have equipment like this. My boots aren't high enough. bumps are shaped wrong for my skis. My skis are too long, too short, too stiff, too flexible. And yet, in your mind's eye, don't you ski exactly like this? And a resort where ski people ski any way they want to, with or without excuses, is Aspen Highlands. The Highlands have great skiing and some of the best hot dogs in the world, both in the restaurant and out on the hill. They have a good ski patrol that spends a lot of time packing slopes just for you, and a very, very long double chairlift. This is how you get off of it. This ski patrol gets entertainment pay for lunchtime, airtime. You have to fly over 50 feet just to clear the porch. That's 4 times the length of the condominium I rented. Draw straws every day to see who is the tower. The loser is the towee. Like to try a toboggan ride? No? Well then how about a helicopter ride? To do it, you'll need to raise the money for your seat. You'll have to do at least 10,000 sit-ups, 50,000 push-ups, and jog at least 1,000,000 miles. At the same time, making arrangements to use your credit card limit to arrive in the Canadian Caribous with Mike Wigley. Six minutes after you left the valley, you're 8,000 feet higher and your bodies become equal parts of butterflies and jello, because this is it. This is the big-time ski people get it on showdown. And don't forget, when you ski in a helicopter, it's last in, first out. Caribous are about 300 miles northeast of Vancouver, British Columbia, near the town of Blue River. It was in Blue River that the wife of a friend of mine underwent painful plastic surgery. My friend cut up her credit card. To run a ski operation like this and keep track of the avalanche and powder snow conditions in over 2,000 square miles of ski runs takes many years of experience. Mike Wigley on the right and his assistant Martin Huberger are just two of the many reasons that in 11 years of operation, Mike has never lost a customer either flying or in an avalanche. While you have lunch, Mike and Martin make their daily analysis of the snow conditions by digging down at least 3 meters, carefully weighing and recording the water content of each layer of snow. By closely studying the snow and its ability to bond to the layer of snow above and below it, they know what steepness of slope and which exposure can hold which depth of snow and what kind. The crystalline structure of each layer of snow is carefully studied with a handheld microscope and logged accordingly. Mike and Bonnie Wigley are two ski people who have devoted their lives to giving you ski people the helicopter experience. Martin Huberger lives in Zurich, Austria, and yet he works here all winter. Eric Sanford's from Mazama, Washington. Mike does most of his hard work while he's flying, mentally noting the snow conditions. At this altitude, he can study every wind slab, every hidden snow bridge, every cornice. Mike Wigley seems to always find the just right part of the Canadian caribous for us ski people. Steep and deep. This run is called Indecision. Get down to the lower elevations, the caribous begin to change. Giant rocks left behind when the Ice Age glaciers began their retreat millions of years ago provide that special run for special ski people. A run like this takes about 15 minutes and drops almost 6,000 feet. This caribou experience is going to last you the rest of your life, or until your next run, whichever comes first. From now on, you'll eat no carbohydrates. You'll jog till your lungs ache. You'll do anything to get that extra week off because you're part of this growing race of people. Ski people. You're one of us. So where will we go next, we ski people? New Zealand? California? Perhaps Portillo, Chile? Maybe France or Idaho? Colorado? Why not Switzerland? Hey, what about all the above? Why not set some time aside now for another ski trip with me next year at the same time, same place? Warren Miller here. Thank you, and good night.